I'm not happy.
I don't need Elizabeth Warren or the government giving away my money.
Calling Mike Bloomberg an oligarch has implications in this country that I think are unfair and unreasonable.
I care. That's it.
Makes you think of some rich person who got their money off of oil in Russia, who's taking advantage of a broken and dysfunctional system.
Bernie Sanders saying, the country's corrupt, our system's corrupt. Be careful about that language, Bernie. You know, be careful.
Oh, well, I'm sorry.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
The Republican Party's racist.
Oh my God! He admitted it!
Nation, Waldorf Nation. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. It's Thursday. Got a good one for you all today. We're gonna have some fun, but we're also going to talk about some important issues, including taxing the rich and Social Security. So, interesting stuff. Very, very important. But also, we're going to start it out with fun. Yes, we have right-wing on right-wing violence. That's fun. Not literal violence, but of course, you're going to see Steven Crowder versus the Daily Wire. That's always fun. We also, we're going to check in and see how Mike Pillow is doing. Yes, our friend Michael J. Pillow. I don't know what the J stands for. But anyway, we have that. But first, we're going to talk about a new conspiracy theory on the right wing involving Joe Biden. But wait, this conspiracy, it posits the question, are the Democrats planting evidence against Joe Biden? I'm not kidding. Insanity. As usual. Fun. Michael Junkie Pillow. Oh, that's good, S Bloom 85. That's really good. That's really good. All right. I like that one. Okay. So could have gone with Michael C. Pillow, which could stand for crack or crack pipe. But that might have been too obvious. That said, I don't know why I'm being stun locked by that. But too much fun. All right, so let's start out with conspiracy theories. As usual, fun times. But before we do, please like and share the stream. Very important that you do so. With that, do it. Get this party started. A new conspiracy theory has dropped on the right wing. You have several high-profile Republicans thinking that somebody may have planted classified documents in Joe Biden's garage. Take a look.
Is this the ploy to make sure that Joe Biden doesn't run in 2024? What do you think?
This is absolutely a ploy.
But it's honestly, it's almost like there is, and who is it, Aaron? Who is pulling the strings that's saying, all right, now Joe Biden is done. He's served his purpose. We got the Democrats, in charge in the White House at least. We've gotten through the midterms, and, the Republicans really only took the House. Now he's done, and they're over him. But who's doing that? I think that's the big question so many people have.
Who's doing it? Yeah. Oh, yes. Who indeed? I'm very, very curious to see where this one is going. Now, by the way, let me just start out how, immediately they come up with this clown conspiracy theory that somebody is trying to get rid of Joe Biden. And then they're like, oh, absolutely. Oh, yes, 100%. I believe it. Hit the nail on the head. Somebody's doing it. And then they go on to name some names. Now, before I get to that, is there talk amongst some Democrats about doing a primary challenge to President Biden? Yeah, there's been talk about that for some time. It's restricted mainly to, I think, progressive corners. That said, personally, yeah, Joe Biden is not as left as I would like him to be, obviously. Not a progressive. He's more of a conservative corporate Democrat. And look, nothing has fundamentally changed in this country. And that was a promise that he made to donors. And I've been very clear that I think he's too conservative for my taste. I would like to see a more leftist contender that would actually challenge corporate rule. I doubt that's going to happen. But, it's just one of the little pipe dreams I have, I guess. That said, is there a widespread movement to replace Joe Biden? No. Much less a widespread movement using the documents scandal or so-called scandal, as a way to get him to not run in 2024. Look, when it comes to this, Joe Biden's not going to get in trouble. For one, again, there's no comparison between what Donald Trump had done and Joe Biden when it came to classified documents. That said, I don't even know if Trump is going to get in trouble for it. Honestly, it all comes down to Merrick Garland, and Merrick Garland a little weak. That said, we'll go to the names. There's some names being dropped by Aaron Elmore. Take a look.
Is it Obama? Is it Ron Klain? We don't know, but what this does show us that these Democrats that are basically complicit with the downfall of America, like Joe Biden's up there doing everything he can to destroy the greatness of our country. And what are they going to do now that they're done with him as a useful idiot? They will discard him. They eat their own before they eat us. So anyone that's out there banging the gong for the Democrats, I will be protected. I will be safe. They will use you and abuse you and discard you. And that's what they're doing here to Joe Biden.
So we found it. Aha!
Obama.
It's Obama. It was him all along. Or his own chief of staff, Ron Klain. No, it doesn't make any sense. But immediately, the conspiracy theories come out. Now, look, she does make a good point, though. Do Democrats like to eat their own? Well, if we're talking about progressives, oh, yeah. Unfortunately, progressives, we're really in, this circular firing squad when it comes to the left, especially the progressive left. We'd rather, and not me personally, but a lot of the progressive left would like to rather destroy each other than go after the fascists, go after the conservatives. And that's an unfortunate truth. And so she would be right about that. And by the way, also, establishment Democrats can't wait to target progressives and destroy them. And so those are unfortunate truths. Okay. That said, everything else there is just absolutely ridiculous. Part of a gigantic conspiracy theory. Now, Obama. Somehow they brought back Obama. Why would Obama have or somehow engineer, or anyone, by the way, classified documents somehow ending up in Joe Biden's garage? No, he probably forgot about it. I mean, that happens. Unfortunately, it happens too often for not just him, but for every president. That said, using her logic, wouldn't that mean that Obama would be trying to save the country? They don't use logic. They don't use logic on that side, okay? That said, it's more like a pretzel, okay? It's a pretzel logic where you just have an endless feedback loop of crazy. That's what's going on with Laura Trump. Laura Trump! Now, that said, these three, are not the only people that have been talking about this. You also have Representative Matt Gaetz. Here's what he said to Fox News Digital. Quote, there's an element to this that feels like the Democrats are taking out Joe Biden. I don't know that that's the case, but I don't know that it's not. Well, gee, do you have any sort of evidence that that would happen? No. Then why are you speculating on this weirdo conspiracy? What are you doing? I just don't understand. I don't understand why everything is a conspiracy. Stupid. All right, anyway. Oh, by the way, there's more to this quote. But just as Joe Biden is hardening the cement around his decision to run for president again, they start looking for what classified documents might have been tucked away 8 years ago. No, what happened is that Biden's team was cleaning out an office at the Penn Biden Center. His lawyers were, and they found a classified document. They were like, oh no, we have a classified document. Okay, we're going to inform the National Archives that here we have this document. We're going to give it back now. We found this. We forgot about it. Here you go. That's it. There's no conspiracy here. Now, look, to go to that earlier point, turns out, yes, government officials do occasionally mishandle documents. Wow. And it's likely because, let's be honest, Congress is ancient. A lot of them have to have documents printed out. And it's because they're technology averse. Now, I'm not saying they're technology averse because they're old. A 70-year-old can easily learn how to use an iPad. They can, learn pretty much anything to do with technology. It's just they haven't. They haven't had to. They haven't been asked to. They're like, oh, just print everything out. Oh, collate it. Put a little paper clip on it, and we're good to go. No. What? Why would you do that? We're in a digital age now, son. Get with the times. Now, that said, you'd also have to teach them about proper cybersecurity measures. But it's not like they can't learn that either. Of course they could. And look, the benefit of that is that you wouldn't have people forgetting documents in their garage. And you might actually save paper. I know, right? Weird. Then again, what do I know? What do I know? I'm just a millennial. What are you going to do? All right, anyway. Younger folks representing. We need to upgrade. Absolutely. Absolutely need to upgrade. Let's not be hard on our memas and peps. Yeah, and here's the thing, though. I'm not. They're just as capable of learning new technology as anybody else. They just haven't. They haven't been asked to or required to. And, maybe we should. Maybe we should. Okay, anyway. Let's move on. Let's get to right-wing crime. Drama. Interesting. All right. Get the correct video here. I have to disagree. My grandparents are in their 70s, and I have to help them with their electronics every single time something goes wrong, and they call me, ask how to do something, even after I explained it a few times. They can learn. You know, it's funny. Anytime that I've ever had a problem, my dad, he's got the magic words, right? Just Google it. That's it. Anytime I need it, like I have had like a question on something, that's like, I don't know, just Google it, man. That's the sage advice I'd get from my father. Hey, if you need something, just look it up. You'll figure it out. Smart. Okay. And that's what I did. Yeah, same. My dad says that too. Yeah. Of course, my dad was also the guy at work making macros for Excel spreadsheets and graphical stuff. I forget the graphics and stuff that he used to make to troll his coworkers. It was hilarious, though. My mom would be 70 this year. She got no problem navigating the basics. She asked me what she should do about her Facebook account getting hacked. I just suggested pitching your password. I'm not saying that it would be easy to teach some people about this, because again, there are some people, and it doesn't matter how old they are, that are just Luddites. You know, when it comes to technology, like they just can't figure it out. But I think we also underestimate people's abilities to learn, and that there are some people out there who are just like lazy and count on, you know, in this case, or in some of these cases that I'm hearing, their kids to come and fix the problem for them. I'm sorry. I am, I'm stun locked. Let's move on. Okay. Transphobic YouTuber with perpetually cold feet, Steven Crowder, is getting dunked on over a contract. Now, look, that's normally not the sexiest of topics to talk about, you know, contract disputes, whatever. But no, he decided he was going to bring this up on a show and do like a nearly 30-minute segment about contracts. So let me give you some background here. And now Steven Crowder recently left Glenn Beck's The Blaze network after about 4 years. And so now he's like launching his own mug, you know, he calls it the Mug Club thing, where he's apparently trying to set up his own network. So in that video, he accused Ben Shapiro's The Daily Wire without actually saying their name at first, because, you know, it's Steven Crowder and he's going to be like super weak about it. But yeah, he accused Ben Shapiro's The Daily Wire of basically being in bed with quote unquote big tech and helping them stifle conservative voices. Check it out.
Big tech is in bed with Big Con. The people you thought, the people I thought were fighting for you, a lot of it has been a big con. Now, I'm specifically avoiding naming names or going after individuals in this video because I genuinely hope that those I'm addressing, and you know who you are, have a change of heart. Don't sign these contracts. I now know what you are signing out there. I have the luxury of not having to. You know, let me go through this. If any of the major platforms issues a content strike such that Crowder cannot be monetized on such platform, the fee will be reduced by 25%. And then another 20% of it happens on Apple. And then another 10% of it happens on Facebook. And then another 10% of it happens on Spotify. And then if you get a strike, meaning a suspension, another 20%. Just to drive it home, you get hit by a car, you have a sick day, you could lose $100,000 a day. This is what's sent out to everybody.
I did not edit that video. That was put out by Steven Crowder. So I didn't touch it. All right. So there it is.
Oh, no!
Oh, the big tech is in bed with Big Con. Oh, well, there's a big con going on here. Oh, that's for sure. But, all right, look, so now, first substantive point. Can contracts be unfair for workers? Yeah, of Of course. Especially when it comes to media. Yeah, you do have young people that end up signing some pretty terrible contracts that are stacked against content creators. And also, I mean, you look at the music industry, it's even more exploitative. So I'm not saying that there isn't a problem here, or that he doesn't bring up, specific concerns of like, hey, don't sign a contract unless you read it or unless you have legal counsel. No, that's actually pretty good advice. That said, when it comes to this specific contract, well, we'll get to the details on that. All right. So now in his video, and again, I'm not going to show you the entire half hour because that's ridiculous. We don't have time for that. But Crowder focused on a couple of different parts of the offer. The fact that he would lose money if he had failed to deliver on his contracted episodes. Okay, well, you're hired to do content. It would make sense that you do not get paid if you do not deliver content. Fair. And that his money would be reduced if he was banned from YouTube or other platforms. That's not controversial. Again, if you get yourself banned from like YouTube or Facebook, whatever, and you're not getting revenue, then yeah, why should you get paid for revenue that you're not generating? And by the way, Steven Crowder regularly does homophobic and transphobic and even racist content. Yeah, there's a good chance that he'll get banned, from these platforms. But that said, all this stuff seems pretty, like, okay, explanatory, self-explanatory, like, okay, yeah, standard. But he left out the most relevant part of that contract. And that was what the Daily Wire was actually offering, even with all those stipulations. Now, according to Will Sommer, he was actually offered upwards of $50 million over a 4-year period. Broken down, he would make a yearly salary, that's money going to Steven Crowder, of $12.5 million a year. That's more money than what Anderson Cooper over at CNN makes in a year. $12.5 million. It's insane how much money there is on the right wing. It's just absolutely insane. And this guy's looking at, a $50 million over 4-year contract, $12.5 million a year, and saying, no, terrible. They expect me to work. He's expected to deliver 192 episodes a year. That's, again, 4 per week, at least 4 90-minute programs, episodes. Oh, hell, I do more than that. So it blows my mind how much these chuds get paid. And by the way, what Crowder does, half the time he's putting on a dress and being super transphobic. That's comedy over in the right wing. And of course, also explains why he's been demonetized on YouTube. Now, that said, he didn't name the Daily Wire. But, some people, and he did it because, of course. Beta male. Beta. But some people sussed it out, figured it out. And so later on, a day later, the Daily Wire comes out and says, yeah, we're the ones who offered that contract. And by the way, we're not happy with you, Steven, for, being a dick, essentially, and throwing our offer in our face. And by the way, accusing us of working with big tech. And so the Daily Wire's chief executive, Jeremy Boring, published an hour-long response video. And so what he did is, again, he went through that contract line by painful line and essentially pointed out that Steven Crowder didn't read this. Steven Crowder doesn't know what he's talking about. Of course, he did it in a very, very much nicer way. And so the best part, though, is it really when Boring points out that Crowder is not a self-made man, doesn't know anything about business, and likely that's why he didn't understand the contract. In fact, here is part of that video.
But Stephen, as much or more than any of them, a very independent voice. But he's not exactly a self-made man. That's not true. He was paid by PJTV when I met him, which was owned by a billionaire at the time. Then he was paid by CRTV for a number of years, which was owned by a billionaire at the time. Then he was paid by The Blaze, which was subsidized by a billionaire, until Tyler Carden, one of the real genius businessmen in our movement, turned the company around and made it profitable. During all of that time, Stephen drove a ton of revenue. He's incredibly valuable. I'm not suggesting that he wasn't driving value. He was. I'm only saying he didn't have to build all of that. He didn't have to think about it. And he didn't necessarily have to be profitable. And he doesn't know for a fact that he was profitable because, as he has said very publicly, all those companies, none of them really shared all the information about what was happening with them. So Stephen feels very certain that his show was always profitable, but he doesn't know that his show was profitable. And even if it was, what became of that profit? Most of that profit almost certainly was reinvested into growing the infrastructure and growing the technology and growing the marketing and growing the compliance. That's how business works.
Not a self-made man, doesn't really know how business works, didn't really know even how much or if his channel was even profitable. And by the way, was constantly, funded by billionaires. I mean, that's what it is. And has no idea what he's talking about, no idea what he's doing when it comes to the business sense, and the business part of doing his show. Now, look, Lance of the Surfs talked about this on his stream yesterday, and he put it very, very succinctly. He basically said, it's baby's first contract. What? Wait, was Daddy running those things, Stephen? Did he finally sit down and read the contract for himself for the very first time? And was like, oh, I have no idea what I have no idea what it is, but it sounds bad. It sounds bad. Maybe. Again, doesn't sound like, he's all that much in the know about how this thing actually works. That said, it's hilarious that in that same video that Crowder had put out, he really gave away what he's trying to do. He's trying to create his own network. And he said it in his video. And so, look, the way that I take that is that Steven Crowder does not want to be the person who signs the contracts and works for someone else. He wants to be the guy that issues them. It's his turn to be the boot, essentially. And if you don't think he's going to try to be the boot and exploit other creators, other so-called up-and-coming conservative, voices, whatever, oh, come on. That's what it's about. And look, again, he's in the right that there are terrible contracts, but this one from the Daily Wire actually seemed fairly standard. And again, understandable why the Daily Wire did this, to protect their income if Stephen posts things that get them banned. Again, you get banned on Facebook, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, whatever, and you're not going to get money. You're not going to get revenue. Why should the company that you're working for as a creator, you post something like offensive enough to get your to get that channel banned? Why shouldn't you pay for it? You got the channel banned. They got no revenue because of you. Because you had to go and post like a super transphobic skit. All they're trying to do is to protect their own business interests. And that makes sense in the case of this contract. But anyway, that said, we heard from Jeremy Boring. Okay. Now let's hear from Ben Shapiro, one of the founders of the Daily Wire. He took a little bit more of a personal tone.
I would just like to take a moment, speaking of big tech and its suppression of free speech, take one moment to comment on a controversy that has broken out because my friend Steven Crowder, been friends with Steven for a long time, like well over a decade now. He put out a video essentially accusing Daily Wire of being in league with big tech. He's accusing us of being in league with big tech because of a term sheet, a negotiable term sheet that we submitted to him that offered to pay him $50 million over 4 years. And included provisions that said that if he got booted from arenas that would lose him ad dollars, since we would also lose the ad dollars, then he would lose money as well. This is typically how contracts work. Stephen interpreted that as somehow misinterpreted. I'll give it the best possible gloss. He somehow misinterpreted that as us attempting to, quote unquote, do the work of YouTube. No. And there is something rather nasty about attacking people who have been friends for over a decade, colleagues, defenders for over a decade, on the basis of your own misinterpretation of a document that offers you $50 million over the course of 4 years.
That's what happens when you have baby's first contract. Has no idea what he's talking about. And Ben Shapiro's like, no. And why are you attacking us? We offered you $50 million. What is wrong with you? Okay. So now, it's really fun how this is all playing out. And I'm pretty sure the drama will continue. And it should not have been public drama, because again, this is a contract negotiation, should have happened behind the scenes. But Steven Crowder decided, no, he's going to go and publicly complain about it while hawking his own network and trying to get people to sign up for his, membership, mug club, whatever, right? So now, that said, other people, well, have kind of chimed in a way. Jordan Peterson. Now, Jordan Peterson originally came out and tweeted support for Steven Crowder. Oh yeah, you take it to those those big tech and big tech censorship. Until he found out that it was Daily Wire. As Will Sommer pointed out on Twitter, someone appears to have gotten to Jordan Peterson because he later on deleted that tweet. Oops. All right. Now, finally, there are the fans. So look, initially when this came out, you looked at a lot of the comments on Steven Crowder's video, and they're like, Steven, take it to big tech. Oh, yeah. And then they find out Daily Wire, and then they find out the details that they had offered him $50 million over 4 years in that contract that seems very standard. And, well, they're starting to turn a little bit. In fact, one commenter says, quote, Steven is being an emotional man. Beta male. This contract is literally a normal contract with a way better deal. It was wrong for him to get offended. I'm glad this was made, and this was under Boring's video, because this could have been handled internally with communication. This is literally how business works. Not good on Steven. Thank you so much for transparency, Daily Wire. Another person says, it's always good to hear both stories out. I heard Crowder's at first, and to be honest, off face value, it sounded extreme. But I won't lie and pretend I understand contracts or this business. Well, you have something in common with Steven Crowder then. They continue by saying, as you broke it down, it made sense. Thank you for taking the time to break it down further. All right. Another person says, I saw Crowder's video yesterday. I was extremely appalled and surprised by what he was saying, because I knew he was talking about Daily Wire. I'm not going to lie, it made me really upset how upset he was, because I really like him and agree with him pretty much 99% of the time. So thank you, Daily Wire, for explaining everything and being transparent. I think it's a good thing you made this video, because a lot of people were very frustrated and confused. Somehow that doesn't seem to be a surprise. After watching both videos, another person says, I feel that Steven Crowder flew off the handle a little bit. If this was an initial offering, there is room for negotiation. Steven Crowder should have negotiated in good faith, rather than blowing this whole thing up in public. kind of crappy they were forced into a public response due to Steven Crowder's immaturity. Matching it with mudslinging in this video wasn't appropriate. Another person says, this actually makes a lot of sense, and he seems to have misinterpreted the contract. I still support his decision to make a network of his own. I wish you both well. And then another person said, I saw Crowder's video and was shocked. This explanation 100% cleared it up. I support you guys in Crowder. Hope you can work it out. Oh, I hope the opposite. But anyway, look, at the end of the day, this is again because Steven Crowder does not know how to read a contract. Baby's first contract. That, and he also decided he wants to be the boot. He wants to take all the profit. Wants to make other people sign probably crappier contracts. Either way, I guess I don't really care as far as that goes. I just want to see him fight. Let him fight. Let him fight.
Oh, no!
Okay. Anyway. Well, you know, us, you know, small lefty creators who will never, ever see anything close to $500,000 or even close to like $250,000. Basically, we're poor. we're never going to see that much money. But at least we get to sit back and laugh. As Ravaging Wolverine points out, you don't pay someone $50 million for truthful, accurate reporting. True. Okay. Let's go check out what Mike Billow's up to.
God gave me this platform. I already know I'm going to win. China did our vote. Biden and Harris would say, hey, we're here to protect the country, and resign. Mike Lindell's a conspiracy. But you haven't. Just forget about the evidence. This was attacked.
Conspiracy theorist Mike Pillow is taking the L for endorsing these election conspiracies. In fact, he did a recent interview with basically a local CBS affiliate. And in that interview, he admits financially, he ain't doing so good.
Now, let me tell you the facts about MyPillow. When I tried to get this out to the people, MyPillow lost $100 million in retailers. We are not up 30 or 40%. We're down. We are down. I've had to borrow money, Esme.
I'm down. I'm not doing very well. In fact, I'm doing very, very poorly. Gee, I wonder why. Maybe it's because a lot of people don't want to do business with a lunatic. I mean, it's very, very possible. You know? Very possible. That said, look, he's being sued for by Dominion Voting Systems for defamation, for coming up with all sorts of lies and conspiracy theories about the election. And, yeah, that's caused a lot of abuse to be hurled at certain Dominion employees or ex-Dominion employees that have been targeted by right-wing lunatics, thanks to Mike Pillow. That said, Dominion Voting Systems put out a statement saying that Mike Lindell's lies have been repeatedly debunked, including by bipartisan government officials and the courts. Dominion is moving forward with the process to hold Lindell accountable for defamation. And again, they will have a pretty good case against him. Now, that said, I believe this is why Mike Pillow is running to be RNC chairperson. I mean, think about it. It's one of the most powerful positions in the Republican Party. Head of the RNC. So now I think his belief is that if he actually is able to win this and replace Ronna McDaniel, right, as head of the RNC, he could probably get the RNC to then pay his legal fees. Again, that's my idea. Because you know what? He probably took that idea from Donald Trump. Because why do you think Donald Trump is running in 2024? And by the way, Donald Trump is also getting his legal fees paid by the RNC. So he sees that and he goes, I got an idea. I think I can get the RNC to pay my legal fees, my legal bills. Not a bad idea. Actually, honestly, might be one of the smarter business decisions that he's made. That said, if he was actually a smart businessman, he wouldn't have hinged his entire reputation on election fraud conspiracy theories. That said, look, when you look at why he's running, I think that's got to be the main reason. That said, I don't think he's going to win. I don't think he's got a shot. He's like, I've got a lot of support. I've got a lot of people that want to see me as RNC chair. All I have to do is just check the comments in my Frank speech, my social media. They're all fantastic. Are they though? I mean, I'm sure those comments are good, but that's not representative of obviously most Americans, or I even think most Republicans. I just don't think it's going to happen. That said, I think at the end of the day, Mike Pillow's running scared because he knows Dominion, once they actually are able to go to court, they're going to own My Pillow, literally, by the time that they're done. Anyway, that's my thoughts on that. All right, let's switch gears. And let's talk about taxing the rich. Ooh. He barely wins with his own Twitter polls. True. While Republicans in the House are pushing to change the tax code to help millionaires and billionaires, Democratic lawmakers are pushing the opposite. In fact, you have lawmakers in 7 different states across the United States, including California, Connecticut, Illinois, Hawaii, Maryland, New York, and Washington, are actually teaming up to introduce bills to tax the rich, specifically a wealth tax. According to a report in the Washington Post, got an early look at the text of the coming legislation. They said that some of the state bills are resembling the wealth tax that Senator Elizabeth Warren had pitched during her 2020 presidential candidacy. Hey, wealth tax. Well, now we're talking. Now, Jake Johnson of Common Dreams quotes the Washington Post here, saying, in 4 states, the 3 that drafted the bills with economist Emmanuel Saez's involvement, along with Illinois, lawmakers say they will float versions of a tax on wealthy people's holdings, or so-called mark-to-market taxes on unrealized capital gains. So, again, there's a lot of very wealthy people that make a lot of money off or have a lot of wealth in unrealized capital gains. And so this would, again, be a great way to raise revenue from that for the government. Now, the Post also reported on Tuesday that Connecticut, Hawaii, Maryland, and New York lawmakers are proposing a change based on some Democrats' frustration with national tax policy. The federal government taxes capital gains, the income that a person makes from selling stock or similar asset, at a separate rate from other income. The highest earners pay a 20% tax on these gains, while paying a 37% tax on wages, a disparity that some Democrats would like to close. If federal rates on capital gains are lower, state rates on capital gains should be higher, these lawmakers argue. And look, that seems logical. It makes sense. There's more. The slate of bill is set to be introduced on Thursday, also includes proposed changes to state-level estate taxes, including a Maryland plan to lower the exemption cutoff from the current level of $5 million to $1 million. So look, their logic is, if the federal government's not going to tax the rich, then we will. It makes sense. Now, on the estate tax, remember, if something that you inherit is worth $1 million or more, in this case, you're likely, again, going to be able to afford the taxes if you inherit that estate. Generally. Now, that said, an analysis released on Tuesday by the Patriotic Millionaires and other progressive advocacy groups found that there was nearly 1.5 million individuals in the U.S. worth actually more than $5 million. Interesting. Their total wealth is actually equal to, get this, $28.2 trillion. This also includes 64,500 individuals with 50 million or more, with combined wealth of 12.5 trillion and 728 billionaires. The report also notes that for every $100 of wealth created in the United States over the past decade, 37.4 has gone to the top 1%, while the bottom 50% has received only $2. So understand that there is a gigantic wealth disparity in this country. You have, again, rich people taking pretty much all the gains, the vast, vast majority of the gains. And look, I don't think they do the vast majority of the work here in this country. Now, the groups estimated, and this is important, that a federal wealth tax of just 2% on millionaires and wealth over $5 million, 3% with wealth above $50 million, and 5% on billionaires would raise an estimated $583.5 billion every year, enough revenue to increase education spending by 47.3%. So, yeah, that's a lot of money. And by the way, education in this country massively defunded as a result of the right wing. This would be a boon. And again, look at the numbers. 5% on billionaires. Just a 5% tax. That's it. 2% on millionaires. Over $5 million. Now, this does not, and I got to repeat, this does not touch average working people, average Americans, because average Americans don't have a net worth of over $5 million. Very important. Now, the Republicans, their messaging on taxes is, oh, they're raising taxes on you. They're coming after you. You're making $30,000 a year, and they're going to tax you to oblivion. No, this is where we're going to tax. Millionaires and millionaires. That's it. That's what we want to do. That's what we're trying to do. Because they don't pay their fair share. Because they've carved out loopholes and exceptions. They bribe politicians, like all the Republicans and a significant number of Democrats, to at least, not raise their taxes. Certainly for Republicans to continue to cut them. So, now that said, on a tweet on Wednesday, Warren wrote that the majority of Americans agree it's time for a wealth tax on the ultra-rich. And again, I agree with that. States are stepping up to make billionaires pay their fair share, and it's time for Congress to take action too. And so what's really interesting here is some of the progressive things that states have actually been able to do. Remember, Congress, the federal government, has not raised the minimum wage. It's still $7.25. But you've seen in states, even red states, especially when you have the ballot initiatives, people voting in favor of raising the minimum wage to at least $15 an hour. That's amazing. So, look, if the federal government is not going to do this because it is corrupt, then you're going to have state governments that do this. And especially, again, if you have these ballot initiatives, ballot measures that are signed, by the people. Because it turns out that across the political spectrum, Americans know, the people know, that the rich are getting away with not paying their fair share. All right, so now, let me give you some more details. The state lawmakers' wealth tax campaign was coordinated by Six Action, an arm of the State Innovation Exchange and the State Revenue Alliance. In a press release on Wednesday, the coalition said the new initiative demonstrates that state legislatures are leading the charge in enacting transformational policies on key issues of the day, including tax justice, particularly in light of a split Congress. Now, this stands in contrast to what Republicans are doing. Because Republicans in the House of Representatives specifically just came out with their own tax plan, and it's really bad. Ooh. Now, in fact, as researchers at the Institute on Taxation and Economic Policy wrote on Tuesday, 1/3 of the 41 states with income taxes have opted for a flat rate, a regressive tax structure that guarantees that wealthy families' total state and local tax bill will be a lower share of their income than what that paid by families of more modest means. And Republicans in the House, so that was the state Republicans, are pushing legislation that would abolish the IRS and replace all federal income taxes with a national consumption tax, which again affects me and you far more than it would a billionaire. Because it takes a higher percentage of our income when we buy things. And by the way, also disastrous for the economy because we're a consumer-based economy, meaning we buy things. The more things that we buy, i.e. consume, the higher our taxes are going to be. Well, what's that going to do for jobs? It's going to destroy them. But also that wealthy people can pay less of a percentage of their income. So, in fact, let's see. I think the Washington Post is quoted here. No, I'm sorry. Americans for Tax Fairness said this, quote, "The bill is a tax cut for the wealthy and a tax hike on working people. MAGA Republicans don't have the power to make this law now, but they're playing the long game for a tax code that tilts even more in favor of the rich and corporations. Their far-right tactics show this that their attacks on working people won't stop. They'll only get more aggressive." It's true. It's true. And so, look, that's what Republicans are doing. Trying to push for these even more extreme giveaways for rich people. Well, hey, when they tell you who they are, when they show you who they are, when it comes to policy positions, again, actions speak louder than words. And as far as, as much as they posture saying, oh, we're friends of the poor, we're friends of the working class, working people, these actions should prove otherwise. Okay. Let's move on. Last story here. Speaking about, there are some Democrats out there also not in favor of working people. Senator Joe Manchin is working to help Republicans cut Social Security. Now, in an interview with Fox Business, conducted at, of all places, Davos, the place where the super wealthy elite gather to talk about how they can keep being more wealthy, I guess. Well, Manchin claimed that, quote, "We have a debt problem, and in order to solve that debt problem, we should work together on solutions." Okay, well, what solutions are we talking about? Are we talking about taxing the rich? Are we talking about reducing military spending? Are we talking about, ending subsidies for oil and coal, fossil fuels? Oh, no, of course not. It's Joe Manchin. He then singled out, during this interview, Social Security. Now, Social Security does not add a penny to the debt. It doesn't add to deficits. It's already paid for. The program, Look, for the program, it does not borrow money from the government. The government does not borrow money to pay for Social Security. We pay for it our entire working lives. And then when we retire, we get those benefits back. Now, look, I shouldn't have to explain it to you. You already know how it works. Joe Manchin also knows how it works. Republicans know how it works. But they have banked on the idea that you don't, because they have been muddying the water on this for decades. They keep drumming up this scare of Social Security, it's going bankrupt, it's running out of money, we've got a debt problem in this country, and they're trying to conflate the two different things that don't have anything to do with each other. Now, that said, they both don't have anything to do with each other, but can both be solved by doing something similar, and that's taxing wealthy people. For one, when it comes to Social Security funding, yeah, there's an issue. Eventually, it will not be able to pay the full amount of benefits that people have earned, right? So now, the way to solve that issue is to eliminate the cap on taxable earnings. So how it works is that I believe it's somewhere around $147,000 if you have paid in to Social Security from your earnings. Once you get to that cap, you no longer have to pay anymore. Rich people, the wealthy millionaires, billionaires, get to a point where they don't have to pay anymore into Social Security. And yet they still get to take out Social Security when they retire. Now, I don't have a problem with that. As again, it works. It's the reason that Social Security works so well is because it's a universal program. But why does that cap exist? It shouldn't. Eliminate the cap. Wealthy people will continue to pay into the system, and therefore the system remains 100% solvent till the end of time. That's it. Now, the second issue, debt. The national debt, that's an issue that can also be solved by making sure that the wealthy pay their fair share. Right now, millionaires and millionaires don't. That said, is there a spending problem? Yes, I would agree. The United States has a spending problem. We're spending so much money on giving millionaires and billionaires tax breaks, subsidies. Oil companies, defense contractors, billions and billions and billions of dollars in giveaways. There's always unlimited money for corporations, but yet never enough money for education and healthcare. Isn't that weird how that works out? How about we stop spending so much money on corporations and the rich, and we won't have this debt? I know, crazy, right? Now, that said, Joe Manchin, he's a recipient of some of this money because he is a coal baron, after all. And so you don't want to do that. And he gets money from these giant corporations in the form of campaign contributions. Now, what he wants to do instead of do these common sense issues, by the way, also, as one of you points out on Facebook, increasing minimum wage, ensuring that people make more money, you can increase that tax base for the middle class because now you're bringing people into the middle class and they can afford to pay more taxes. That also makes sense. It's a sensible thing. Raise wages for people, especially in the light of inflation, and you're able to, increase that tax base. Makes sense, right? But again, Manchin doesn't want to do that. Manchin, at the end of the day, wants to work with Republicans to cut Social Security benefits because he agrees with them that they're too generous. These entitlements. People feel like they're entitled to a retirement. No. I don't think they're entitled to an entitlement. They should work harder. Now, of course, he denies that, what are you talking about? I don't want to actually privatize Social Security. Remember, that's what Republicans have openly said. Yeah, we're going to privatize Social Security. That's what we want to do. And we want to cut it and then eventually privatize it. Manchin denies it, but what do you think happens after you weaken a federal program? We've seen this movie before. Weaken federal programs and then privatize them. That's what they do. It's so they can get access to all of that money. The reason they want to privatize it is so that you can put it on the stock market. Imagine having your retirement, and not the supplemental retirement, which some people have, IRAs and things like that, investments in the stock market. But imagine your only retirement stuck on the stock market, allowing other people to use that money to gamble. That's what's going on here. They want to use your money, your retirement, to make returns on investment for them. Now, there are some investors, of course, that do have a fiduciary responsibility to the investor, right? The person whose money belongs to, that would be you. But at the same time, you still don't want your retirement, your nest, to be stuck in the stock market, which is volatile. That's what the whole point of Social Security is, to make sure that you have this stable pot of money that you get so that you can live with some sort of dignity. That said, Social Security is something that Republicans and even conservative Democrats would like to get rid of, or privatize, or cut. So now, Manchin, along with Senator Mitt Romney, have decided that they were going to push a bipartisan rescue committee. And in this rescue committee, they would only give the panel 180 days to devise legislation that restores solvency and otherwise improves each. And when we're talking about improvement, when it comes to Washington speak, improvement basically means cutting benefits. The bills produced by the bipartisan committees would then be placed on an expedited path to floor votes in both chambers with no amendments allowed. Can't change it. Nope, gotta go. Expedited. Manchin and Romney's legislation, known as the Trust Act, which is hilarious, is explicitly modeled after the infamous Simpson-Bowles Commission that recommended deep cuts to Social Security back in 2011. So let it be noted, by the way, that this so-called Trust Act and all the attempts to, cut Social Security are rejected immediately by analysts and advocates. They say that Social Security is not a financial crisis, nor does it need rescuing. The only thing you do is get rid of that cap, and that's it. A very, very simple fix. But of course, as it affects billionaires and millionaires, can't do it. They don't want to do it. So, the backlash, of course, for this was swift. As Social Security Works tweeted Wednesday in response to Manchin, quote, "Hell no to even a single penny of cuts to Social Security's earned benefits. Hell no to fast-track commissions designed to cut benefits behind closed doors." Alex Lawson, director of Social Security Works, told Common Dreams that President Biden should, quote, "reiterate his commitment to not only signing a clean debt limit increase and specifically rule out a closed-door commission designed to cut Social Security. Manchin is providing cover for Republican attacks on Social Security and Medicare. Democrats must stand with President Biden in his calls for a clean debt limit, debt ceiling increase, and an end to Republican attacks on earned benefits. MAGA extremists plan to use the national debt they exacerbated with tax breaks for billionaires, profiteering corporations, as an excuse to gut Social Security and Medicare." And finally, Liz Zelnick, director of the Economic Security and Corporate Power Program at Accountable.us, said in a statement Thursday that whether or not the nation suffers a default crisis that could crush jobs is entirely up to MAGA extremists in Congress. Well, I would also say that it's kind of up to Democrats as well. But let me just state that, again, they're using the debt limit crisis, which, by the way, today we hit the debt ceiling, right? Now, of course, Congress can and will raise the debt ceiling every single time. There's no way that, anybody will allow a default. So, look, the whole thing's theater, okay? If the country defaults, and here's why they'll never let the country default. Their stock portfolios would crash. What do you think Congress values more than anything? Their own investments. They'll never do anything that would allow them to lose significant amounts of money. That's what default would do. It would, crash the economy. It would cause pain for millions and millions of Americans. They don't care about that. What they care about, stock portfolios and corporations and their corporate donations. So that'll never happen. The whole thing is theater, right? That said, what they're doing is Republicans are trying to use that as a way to scare people into supporting cuts to Social Security. That's it. The whole debt limit fight is stupid. It's theater. But they use that theater to get their own demands. Now, so far, the White House has said no to Social Security cuts. That's good. That said, I am concerned that there are other Democrats, and you already have Joe Manchin, that is a Democrat, saying, oh, yeah, we should definitely do that. Work with Republicans. Oh, yes. I'm worried that other Democrats, and enough of them, will accede to their demands. That is very concerning. And look, it wouldn't be unprecedented for Democrats to also go along with Republican attempts to cut Social Security. Simpson Bowles happened under the Obama administration, and it was endorsed by President Obama. So let's be fair. Let's point out facts. The Obama administration tried to cut Social Security. And by the way, the Obama-Biden administration. That said, I'm hoping that Joe Biden has learned from that. Has learned from that. So far, again, they haven't agreed to their demands. I'm hoping that he continues to see the right wing's bluff. Because again, it's not going to happen. And says, no, we all know that this is a game. You're going to lose out. So let's just pass a clean debt limit already. Okay. That's what we've got. Joe needs to grow spine when dealing with the fascists, says Jules. Let's see. I've been saying for a long time that debt ceiling needs to go. It's not a partisan stance. Stop hostage taking on money that's already spent. That's very true. Very, very true. Let's see. Gabby Mathis says, don't touch my hard-earned and paid for, or I will demonstrate for it. And FYI, I received a bill for 60 cents more than the stamp will cost. So, yeah, don't touch people's Social Security. All right. So, like I said, whole thing's theater. They'll need to flip a few Republicans, get to work on that, and raise the debt ceiling. Yeah, like I said, the establishment Republicans, yes, of course, do they want to cut Social Security? Of course they do. At the same time, they're not going to risk their stock portfolios to get that pipe dream. It's just not going to happen. I would be very, very surprised. All right, anyway. Twitch. Let's go to Twitch here. Anonymous Gifter, thank you for gifting a 1-month tier sub. Appreciate that. All right, so thank you for watching. Please like and share the stream if you haven't already. Love you all. Be back tomorrow for another great show. Love you all. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation. We'll see you all back here tomorrow. Have a great night.
There's insanity in the control room. Who's got a hammer?
It's not a salami sandwich. Disappointed!
Here's the direction you're about to be.
Oh no!
Oh yeah.
In Venezuela.
You're kicking me out the door. You're kicking me out the door.